life have been perfect little Mei Mei.
If you're not careful, you might just poof into a red panda. From the year it took to design Panda Mei, the hours spent working from home, and the creation of boy band music, the challenges were endless making Turning Red. The team pulled it off though, and happened to be closer than ever by the end of it. How did they do it? Let's have a look.
It's a little autobiographical, this story.
Time for a trip to the zoo. That is exactly what the team behind Turning Red did. The San Francisco Zoo let a small group of the creative team come to the zoo before it opened up to the public for the day, to let them get up close and personal with some real-life red pandas.
Red pandas are usually pretty lazy.
Lucky for them, it was feeding time, so the sketch artists had the chance to draw out their anatomy and how they moved around.
The red panda was really challenging. It was to build in the computer.
Animating it was tricky, but creating this panda based off of the best source material there was a major help.
And they're such cute animals, and I feel very fortunate to have seen them live.
This isn't like any other panda you've seen. Panda Mei is a very chunky panda, making her unbelievably cute. Even her friends think so.
You're so fluffy!
Having such unusual proportions meant translating the way it moved into the 3D world while retaining 2D qualities was a huge hurdle.
Anything with a lot of fur in the computer is really hard to build and to make it look just right.
The most challenging part? Figuring out how to make those very short legs get Panda Mei around in a natural enough looking way. Luckily, it was well worth the wait. Seeing the panda version of Mei for the first time was a special moment for everyone.
I'm a gross red monster!
If the tech doesn't exist, why not invent it? A brand new technology was developed and introduced for Turning Red to make sure there was diversity throughout. The program would scan frames from the different scenes to see what the representation was like. If the image didn't meet the mark in really reflecting the world we're living in, then the animating team would go back in and make the adjustments needed. This diversifying included all the details you could think of, from small ones like having a character that used an insulin pump, and including wheelchair-accessible ramps outside the temple. It's time to meet your new favorite boy band. The musical minds behind Four Town? None other than Billie Eilish and Finneas O'Connell. Producer Lindsay Collins was keen to get the two artists to sign on to the movie, so she went full fangirl and made a scrapbook that Mei would have made, full of Four Town pictures and drawings, including the faces of Billie and Finneas on top. Collins wasn't really sure they'd be into it, but the duo was open to a meeting with the creative team, and the deal was sealed.
We have 3 songs in the movie that are original Four Town songs.
The fact that the musicians happen to be huge animation fans helped. Finneas even lent his sweet voice to the Four Town member, Jesse.
Boy bands. It's the really catchy melody and harmonies and claps and choreography.
Time for voiceover magic. With all the recording happening during the pandemic, the performers were far more isolated than usual. Sometimes they were even halfway around the world. Pop singer Anne-Marie recorded her cameo as Lauren from the UK, with Domee Shi directing her virtually.
That was so weird for me. I loved it though.
When the band had to get together to nail those sweet harmonies, they had to get a bit creative with the booth.
You can't have a story about a 13-year-old girl without having a boy band.
Each performer had their own hut built, featuring windows, all within one studio so they could record on their own, but together.
It was all loads of fun.
How many jokes did we miss? Turning Red is full of laugh-inducing moments, and while a lot of the jokes wound up on the cutting room floor, one in particular came pretty close to making the final cut.
It was when she's like talking about the boys on the track and they're sitting in the bleachers.
Oh yeah.
Just how corny was this joke? Well, it speaks for itself.
The joke was, "Are you a beaver? 'Cause damn."
Fingers crossed it'll end up in the bonus features. Caution, the following images may induce drooling. How much do we want to eat all the food we see on screen? The secret to making it look so appetizing was somewhat surprising though.
Food needs to be oily, look oily and glossy in order for it to feel delicious.
Other drool-inducing details included making sure the colors of the food were very vibrant and saturated, with just the right amount of oily gloss. Domee Shi had a crystal clear vision from the very beginning.
My biggest cultural and artistic inspiration and influences are like Disney and Pixar and Japanese anime.
The liquid in water was styled in the same way it is in anime, with a kind of thick and glue-like quality to it. Streaky style light on windows was another nod, and of course, the oh-so-expressive eyes that allowed the animators to push the character's emotion in a kind of exaggerated way, but perfectly in line with the vibe of the movie. 2D or 3D? Or both? The animation in Turning Red is unlike any other Pixar movie we've seen, and yet, it's still somehow familiar.
I think from the beginning, we really wanted to push the style of this movie. And
The team's goal was a combination of the 2D and 3D world. Not an easy ask with animators who've been used to working and designing in a certain way for a number of years.
Did ask the animators to go out of their comfort zone.
Supervising animator Patty Kim was pretty nervous going into it, unsure the unique style Domee had wanted from the very beginning would actually work out.
We were trying to figure out a way to get the essence of 2D in a 3D world.
Eventually, a balance was found and used as a tool in the movie, just when we thought we couldn't love Disney Pixar anymore. Working on a project this big with a team virtually in the middle of a pandemic can become stressful, but the VFX supervisor, Danielle Feinberg, wasn't going to let that get the team down, so
She created this thing called the Power Panda Poof weekly nominations.
every single week, different cast and crew members would write kind things about their coworkers, spreading the love so that during their crew tea time, emails could be read aloud for everyone to hear. Could there be a more uplifting and sweet event? Everybody, get cozy.
I mean, 4 years. I've been working on this film for 4 years.
And 2 of those years involved working almost exclusively remotely.
I mean, we worked on it for quite a while, and for much of that time, we were in our homes.
Turning Red was in pre-production for animation when everything shut down. A couple of weeks later, everyone was ready to go full steam ahead, set up to work from home, even if it wasn't always ideal.
We made the film from home, in our guest rooms, on our kitchen tables.
Right what you know, after all. While Domee Shi never turned into a red panda when she was growing up, a whole lot of other details in the movie were drawn from her real life and the place she grew up, Toronto.
So much of it you can just trace it back to exactly like her relationship with her mom and her growing up.
Even characters, like each of the girls in May's close circle of friends, were based on a friend that she had in her life at some point. At some points, all the characters were a bit uptight. Panda Mei took advantage of that when she needed Stacy to get out of her way. After working a certain way for years, the animators were reminded to explore the options.
No. Forget all of that. Now let's try something totally different. Don't move the body.
The team took a chance on a special technology called profile movers, developed by Bill Scheffler. The tech could calculate smaller movements and take care of minuscule articulation points in a character's body, so the artists could focus on the bigger picture, and much to their delight, it worked like a charm.
That was really cool.
Welcome to Turning Red, aka the color palette of our dreams.
That Rona spent a lot of time thinking about color on this film.
We've got May in fire red and Ming in the opposite, emerald green. Each of May's gal pals got their own color based on their vibes as well. Who runs the world? Girls. Turning Red marks the first Pixar film to have an all-female team in the creative leadership roles. And it kind of happened by accident. There was a focus to put a team together that would work well, and this group of women proved that they really did. They happened to work the most efficiently of any Pixar film in history, only taking about 4 years to create this movie from scratch, which is pretty short for Pixar. Disney Pixar has done it again. Turning Red brings the best of the classic way of working to the newest technologies. Which part of making the movie do you think would have been most challenging?